But give me your thoughts on this first one. I think this was probably the biggest trade. The Padres got Mason Miller and JP Sears from the A's. They sent over baseball's number 3 prospect, Leo DeVry, the shortstop. They also sent over their 17th rated prospect, Eduardo Nunez, their number 3 prospect, Braden Nett, and their number 13 prospect, Henry Baez. Now, we knew that Miller's name was kind of being floated around. He was all-world last year. Good, but not great this year. Still surprising to see him get dealt and for the Padres to give up the, third best prospect in all of baseball.
This trade, in all facets to me, is a surprise. It's a surprise to me that the Athletics were listening on Mason Miller. It's a surprise to me that the Padres were willing to pay such a hefty price for an arm that has yet to throw 100 innings in a season. And he was a starter. And they say that they think he could be a starter in the future. So that in and of itself is confusing. But it's Preller in San Diego who takes more risks than anyone. And I mean, hey, people were talking about the Padres as potentially being sellers coming into the trade deadline. They went out and maybe they were the biggest buyers because, Mason Miller and Sears wasn't all that they did. They brought in, I believe, a couple of outfielders as well. The Padres, they were active, and I do think a big part of that is the big blow to the Dodgers. But, right now, things, it just feels weird that the Athletics would give up a guy with such potential like Mason Miller, who is controlled for another 3 years after this? 4 years? Yeah, 20. He's controlled through 29, I think.
I think it's
4 years. So that's just but that's why the ask was so high. And I mean, hey, if I'm the Athletics with the haul that they got back, you're going to end up with 3 major leaguers out of that deal, like solid major leaguers, potentially 1 superstar. And it's also right on track for them to get to the major leagues when you're getting into Vegas. So they are truly saying they do not plan on competing until they go to Vegas.
This was a Godfather offer from the Padres that I think we all kind of will agree that the Athletics had to accept. And I don't think that necessarily means it was a bad trade for the Padres side of things. I think a big thing that we'll notice as a theme is teams were very aggressively building their bullpens. And in terms of age, potential, and control, Mason Miller was the best closer moved. That's why he was the highest demanded price. You look at the Padres bullpen now. Miller, Suarez, Adam, Estrada, Peralta even as a lefty out there. You look at the starting rotation, Michael King, hopefully he's back for them. Dylan Cease, Pavetta, Yu Darvish, they bring in JP Sears. And like Ben mentioned, I think when you talk about the Mason Miller move, you have to talk about the fact that the Padres did push their chips on the table. They brought in Ryan O'Hearn. They brought in Ramon Laureano. Like, this is a team who's, said, we got to pick which side of the fence we're going to be on. Tatis and Machado are playing at fantastic levels. Let's go in. Let's go all in on this season. The Dodgers just suffer an injury to Ohtani. We'll see what the extent of that is. The NL is up for grabs. Teams like the Mets and Phillies, who we are directly competing with, both made improvements before the Miller deal. It's time to put up or shut up. The Padres put up. We'll see how much it becomes worth it. But at the end of the day, you can't look at the roster as it's currently constructed and say they don't have a shot to win the World Series. They are better today than they were yesterday.
Absolutely.
I'm just surprised they got the trade done at all, because I thought the asking price was going to be too high for any team to really even consider. And I mean, the price was, very high. I mean, number 3 prospect.
I mean, the Padres gave up their 1, 3, 13, and 17, and their 1 was Major League Baseball's number 3 overall.
Yeah, like it's just crazy, the price, and I didn't think anyone was willing to pay that price. But I guess the Padres like Dylan said, they put all their chips on the table, and they're in win now mode. Like they
Well, they got
are in
3 new
win
guys
now
for their
mode.
lineup.
Yeah.
O'Hearn, Fermin, and Laureano are all going to be everyday players for them.
So, I mean, this is basically they're going to win now. So, and then worry about the future later.
The next move I want to talk about that's pretty significant. The Houston Astros brought back fan favorite Carlos Correa, who won't be their shortstop, but will be their third baseman. And they sent over to Minnesota lefty Matt Mikulski. It's nice to see him go back, but then again, it brings back a lot of painful memories for Major League Baseball fans. And, the Astros are right now in a wide open American League, and it just feels like they're back on track to just walk to another World Series berth with this type of move.
I mean, walk is an interesting take, but I think that certainly this move, again, similar to the Padres, like they pushed the chips on the table and said, we can compete this year. Let's do the best we can. Now, they were heavily involved in potentially acquiring Dylan Cease and did not. So when you look at their starting pitching outside of Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez, you do have some questions, and you would like to have 3 or 4 guys in a playoff series. I think the bullpen's fine. They'll obviously be getting Yordan Alvarez back. But, the left side of that infield now is Correa and Jeremy Pena. That's very solid. You brought in Jesus Sanchez as well to play the outfield. They are no joke. And the lineup is going to be very dangerous. The bullpen is good, and you have 2 high-end starting pitchers. That is enough, certainly in the AL, to potentially make a World Series push. The Houston Astros went in on this season.
I think that this is really a can't lose kind of deal for Houston. I think that Minnesota at this point is just happy to get out from underneath that contract. They were happy that, Correa was willing to waive that no trade. And I think for Houston, whatever you get out of them is a plus. You needed a third baseman when Isaac Paredes went down. He's going to fit in there. And you know what? Maybe this kind of chemistry also sparks other guys that are still there, like an Altuve, who remembers playing with Correa and has a lot of great memories being in the middle infield with him.
I mean, honestly, I think this is a win. I think this is a win for the Twins too, also, because they only had to eat $30 million of his contract, and so they got out of the contract. And they basically gutted their team, the Twins. I think they traded 11 players on their active roster. So they're really just, I think, going full rebuild mode right now. And dumping that contract is huge, especially when Correa, when they signed him to that big contract, and I don't think he's really been producing up to the standards they hoped he would when they signed him. So it's definitely a huge win for them to get him, to trade him away there, and it's a huge win for Houston to get them because they really need the help there, and they're looking like Corey said walk to another win there, and I'm almost inclined to say so. I don't know if it's going to be like a cakewalk, but they have an easy path. Hold on.
The AL West as a whole improved. Those top 3 teams all got better today, and we'll talk about, well, not just today, but better post deadline. They all improved. So I don't even think the AL West is a cakewalk for them. And we're going to talk about some other teams, but the Tigers got better. The Yankees got better. The Blue Jays were still a good team. Boston, they can get hot and compete with anybody. I don't think the AL is the cakewalk that we're claiming it to be.
Well,
could the Astros come out? Sure.
I want to ask you, because you said the Yankees got better. Are the Yankees a better team than they were 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Okay, well, we'll get to your delusional.
How long is Judge out?
Okay, well, yeah, if Aaron Judge isn't playing, then sure, they're not better.
That's my thing. That's my whole point.
He's scheduled to come back next week.
He's going to be back on Tuesday.
Is he?
Yes.
They've been very. I have not seen an actual date.
They literally said the day he went on the IL that he'll be back in 10 days, and that the injury has no effect on his hitting. They just wanted him to
because they were very we don't know when he'll be back. We don't know.
They didn't.
I think the worst
Oh.
scenario is that the throwing doesn't fix, and then Stanton kind of loses a spot in the lineup, and
Yeah.
obviously that wouldn't be good. But we'll talk about the Yankees. I think that
Yeah.
they're better positioned to be a actual threat in the playoffs for sure.
Right, but Judge again will be back on Tuesday. They didn't lose him for as long as it seemed. It was kind of more of just giving him a rest. But the next trade I want to talk about, former Seattle Mariner becomes current Seattle Mariner, Eugenio Suarez. Diamondbacks finally move him. What was thought to be one of the crown jewels kind of went under the radar a little bit. I just feel like there are so many reliever trades that Suarez's move didn't make as big of a splash as it seemed like it could be, especially when nobody else was really in on him, it felt. Once the Yankees got McMahon, the markets for the third base kind of went down, and it just wasn't as talked about. The return for that was Tyler Locklear, Seattle's number 9 prospect, Hunter Cranton, the 16th overall, and Juan Burgess, the 17th. So a modest package going back. Definitely not the high-end talent that Arizona was asking for, though.
Yeah, I mean, I brought up Seattle just a second ago when we were talking about Houston, and I'm not ready to write them off from winning this division or being a threat to get to the World Series. This team has always had pitching. That's kind of the thing we've talked about with Seattle for a while. They have pitching. They don't have a lineup, but Castillo, Kirby, Gilbert, Wu, that's a really good playoff rotation. You have Munoz as your closer. I like Spire. They brought in lefty Caleb Ferguson. They traded for him from the Pirates. That's not nothing. But now when you look at this lineup, Cal Raleigh, potentially with Judge's stint on the IL, could win MVP, could certainly be the home run leader. You traded for Josh Naylor. I know that happened a little while ago, but you did bring in Pop at first base. Eugenio Suarez, you brought in a lot of Pop at third base. You have Julio Rodriguez, who is one of the premier players in the sport. And we know that Randy Arozarena, come playoff time, can be very clutch. This now, to me, feels like a complete lineup to go along with what you could argue is the best pitching staff in the AL come playoff time, most complete.
I like the move. Seattle has just proven time and time again that it's hard to trust them when it really matters. And I really wish they got some players with more playoff experience. And Suarez, who's a good player, I just feel like his second half is going to falter a bit because he's never been able to play at this level for a full 162, in a row. He had a good second half last year.
Even if he falls back a little bit, for Arizona, he was relied on to be their number one source of pop. Here, he's number 2. And on some days, it could be 3.
I mean, he was with Naylor in Arizona, so they kind of have that familiarity. Yep. Julio Rodriguez has had a very disappointing season. And then Randy Arozarena as well has never lived up to the hype he had in the postseason with Tampa Bay.
Hype that he had, but obviously on this team, his role is much different to be successful.
And then the next moves, though, I do want to discuss. I kind of want to just leave them out there. We'll discuss them more in depth. Phillies, they brought in Yohan Duran. They sent over their number 4 prospect, Eduardo Tate, the catcher, and the righty McAble, their second overall. We'll talk about them in a little bit. The Yankees, they brought over David Bednar. They sent over their number 8 prospect, Rafael Flores, and Edglin Perez, their 14th, both catchers, plus an unranked catcher and outfielder and Brian Sanchez. We'll discuss them. The Mets brought in Ryan Helsley. St. Louis received the Mets number 8 prospect, Jesus Baez, and their 14th, Nate Dome, along with another pitcher, Frank Elisalt. We'll talk about those guys in a little bit. The Rangers, though, since we're still discussing the AL West, they surprised everybody and brought over Merrill Kelly from Arizona. They sent over pitchers Cole Drake, David Hageman, and Mitch Bratt. I like this move for the Rangers because it doesn't necessarily have them parting with a lot of high-end talent, and it gives them a chance to compete without going all in too much.
Well, it's a great move because pitching's been the strength of this team, and I think Merrill Kelly is like the biggest knock on him was that he's not going to provide top of the rotation stuff. But that's not what the Rangers need. They just want depth. So if, bringing him in is great because now if you lose one, he still slots in as a number 3 or a 4. The Rangers are okay. I think it's a great move. And like you said, you're not giving up too much talent.
Yeah, and the Rangers brought in 2 guys to the bullpen, Maton and Colombi. The AL West, like I mentioned, Houston leads it right now, but both Seattle and Texas are 5 games back, certainly viable as wild card teams. And we just saw it a couple years ago. If the lineup gets hot at the right time for the Rangers, they can make noise in a playoff series. So, and you're a very veteran-led team. I definitely understand being in, getting the season you're getting from DeGrom. You still have Seager. Adolis Garcia and Marcus Semien haven't been great this year, but their timeline still revolves on being in the moment. And you still have a ton of young talent if you're Texas. But I think that the moves that they made weren't too costly, and it's worth seeing if this team can get hot in the second half.
Well, yeah, Seager lately has been at an MVP level. So you do not want to waste it when you go all in on contracts like that. Like Seager and Semien, and then DeGrom right after. Like, you have to win in the earlier windows of those contracts. And if they want another one, it's soon. It's this year, next year is the big window.
The next pitcher I want to talk about on the move is Shane Bieber going from Cleveland to Toronto. Toronto gave up their number 5 prospect, Cal Steven. This was a good move, I think, for Toronto, who my biggest knock has always been I don't trust their pitching. Now, Bieber has been hurt all year, still recovering from injury, but he has a option for next year to be brought back. I believe it's like $16 million. I still don't believe in the Blue Jays, but this was a good move to keep them competitive with high upside and almost no downside.
Yeah, I think anytime you can get an ace is a big move. And the Blue Jays, let's be honest, are lacking an ace. The arms that they have right now are serviceable, but they didn't have a true one. And yeah, Bieber is always dealing with injuries. Get him ready for October. I mean, the rotation has shown that, it's okay, and the lineup can hit their way through. You get that number 1 guy for October, and all of a sudden, that path for the Astros is a lot more difficult, especially if that path has to go into Canada and through Toronto. Because look, the Blue Jays, they look like they may be able to win 100 games for the first time in their franchise's history.
Yeah, Toronto is a 64-win team at the moment. Bieber and Sir Anthony Dominguez brought in. Not a super eventful deadline, but I think some nice little high upside moves around the edges. If I'm a Blue Jays fan, the only thing that really disappoints me is of all the closers that were on the market and moved, we didn't get any of them, and some teams got 2 of them. And you still have Jeff Hoffman with a 4.76 ERA right now as your guy that you're going to be relying to close out big games against Aaron Judge, against Yordan Alvarez, against potentially Cal Raleigh. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if Sir Anthony Dominguez becomes the guy.
But even at that, if you're a Blue Jays fan, how thrilled can you be at a deadline where Mason Miller, Johan Duran, Camilo Doval, Bednar, Housley were all moved?
I mean, why don't we ask John how Sir Anthony Dominguez plays in a relief role?
Look, we saw the Mets in 2015. The best reliever they brought in was Addison Reed, and I'm pretty sure that was like a waiver pickup. So anything is possible.
It's possible. I'm just saying, if I'm a Blue Jays fan, with all the closers that were moved and how good my team has been, I would have wanted one of those guys.
The Blue Jays now have the 8th hardest schedule to end the year. So they have an uphill battle to be that 100-win team that they, could possibly be. 8th
hardest is middle of the pack. Come on, man.
I mean, 8th hardest is top 10 hardest in baseball.
There's 30 teams. You're 2 away from being middle of the pack.
I see those goalposts keep moving then.
Come on, man.
I'm just saying, Yankees have the 3rd easiest to end the year.
Okay.
I saw today that the Yankees in their final 14 games. 10 of them are versus the Orioles and Twins, who might not have enough players to field major league rosters at this point. And it kind of made me chuckle.
I do want to mention that the Orioles made another move. They sent Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano to San Diego for six prospects. The Yankees brought in Ryan McMahon to play third base, their first actual third baseman since Josh Donaldson was on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
They sent over Griffin Herring, who was their number 8 prospect at that point, and Josh Gross, a pitcher, number 21 in their system. We'll talk about that move in a little bit. Josh Naylor, we mentioned, went from Arizona to Seattle. The Red Sox got Dustin May from the Dodgers, who got James Tibbs III, the Red Sox number 5 prospect. We mentioned him a few weeks ago. He was the return in the Devers trade from San Fran. And then in addition to Tibbs, Zach Earhart went. He was their number 27 prospect. May always dealing with injuries. It's a high upside move that really doesn't hurt the Sox because they wanted to get rid of Devers. If Tibbs is what it costs, that's what it costs. Griffin Jackson, a surprise move, went from Minnesota to Tampa, who
That was so odd to me. That was so odd to me that Tampa was the buyer.
Taj Bradley was the return, so it was a pitching swap. But guys, what sense does this trade make for Tampa?
What's his control, Jax? Do you know?
I think it's another year. I think he's a free agent after next year. Let me verify.
Griffin Jax. He was a reliever on the Twins. He has 2 years of control after this. So
he's looking at.
He was also demoted to AAA, wasn't he?
I don't think so.
He's been pretty solid this year, from my
I
understanding.
know he got into a fight with the coaching staff.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It was Taj Bradley who was.
He has a 4.5 ERA right now, so I mean, not an amazing season, but I do think he has good potential. And I think maybe the Rays were just like, hey, if we can get him for this, let's see if we could work it out and then flip him for more, probably, because it's the Rays. It just felt like a little bit of a project.
Always do this where they sell and buy.
I mean, I would have loved Griffin Jackson on the Yankees. He was one of my top targets.
You got to look competitive enough if you're the Rays to keep getting that MLB money that way and not be accused of tanking.
Like the Pirates. Even the A's have perfected the art of not embarrassing themselves to the level the Pirates have.
Hey, man, they could have moved Skeens if they wanted Spencer Jones. That was an option.
That was, and it was really fun looking at a lot of the Twitter fans of the Pirates. Why would the Yankees not trade Jones? That should be the return for Bednar. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. A lot of delusion, and it's really fun because Jones, who isn't a top 100 prospect, kind of is to a lot of people in the industry based on his recent stretch and his past as a top prospect. The Yankees did bring in Camilo Doval from the Giants in a buzzer beater trade. The Mets brought in Tyler Rogers for Jose Budo, Blade Tidwell, their number 10 prospect, and Drew Gilbert, their number 12. They also brought in Cedric Mullins for a few guys. The Reds were buyers and brought in Ke'Bryan Hayes. They sent over Sammy Sephora for their number 9 prospect. And
I love that from the Reds, by the way. I love the Reds being buyers.
And Taylor Rogers, who was then flipped to the Cubs. I do love the Reds being buyers. The Reds were my pick to win the division. So I'm very happy that at least this far that they at least think they're going to make the playoffs.
Well, I like Hayes as well because his timeline is still fits Ellie, even if it's not this year.
Right. And then the Yankees also traded for Jose Caballero. The interesting point of that is that they were playing the Rays. So in the middle of the game, he had to get pulled and switch dugouts. And then watching him tell Tyler Walls that he got traded, and Walls looked stunned. And then you can see his face change when he heard where he was traded to. It was just very funny. It's very sad a lot of the times when you see the hug watch, guys upset that they're leaving. And then you hear stories coming out of Minneapolis how guys are begging to get moved because they hate how this deadlines went and they all want out.
It's like Byron Buxton, the Will Smith meme, where he's just in the empty room.
Yeah.
Well, and that's Buxton's fault because he said, "I will never waive my."
Oh
no
yeah,
trade."
I mean,
So,
he
like-
loves it there.
Yeah.
he's
But,
like, I'll make
anybody
millions
who's
and live in
left has to just be
Minnesota.
thinking, damn.
So again, like we said, there were about 64 trades going back about a week. The Phillies, they got Yohan Duran, Harrison Bader, and Matt Manning. The Mets, they got Gregory Soto, Tyler Rogers, Ryan Helsley, and Cedric Mullins. The Yankees got Ryan McMahon, Ahmed Rosario, Austin Slater, Camilo Doval, Jake Bird, David Bednar, and Jose Caballero.